It was the first week of the new school term. Students filled the classrooms, laughing, talking, and sharing stories from their holidays. But when Aisha walked through the school gate, no one even noticed her. She wore simple clothes. Her long hair was tied back in a plain braid. She kept her eyes down and walked slowly to her class. Aisha was the new girl, quiet, shy, and unknown. The only sound she made was the soft echo of her footsteps on the hallway floor. In Class 10B, everyone was loud. Boys threw paper balls at each other, girls gossiped, and at the center of it all sat Danish, the most popular boy in school. He was tall, confident, and always laughing. But he was also known for something else. He loved making fun of people, especially quiet ones. When Aisha entered the class for the first time, the teacher was already inside. "Class, this is your new classmate, Aisha. Please make her feel welcome." Some students smiled. "Danish?" He smirked. Aisha gave a small nod and walked to the back bench. She chose the last seat near the window, alone. From that day, everything began. During the lunch break, Danish walked past her and said loudly, "Why so quiet, new girl? Cat got your tongue?" Some boys laughed. Aisha didn't look up. She just opened her book and kept reading. The next day, he hid her pencil box. Another day, he switched her seat just before class. Every time, Aisha stayed silent. She didn't cry. She didn't complain. She just kept writing in her small brown diary, the one she always carried in her bag. The other students started noticing. "Why doesn't she ever fight back?" one girl whispered. "She's weird," said another. But the teacher, Miss Farah, noticed something different. She saw the pain in Aisha's eyes, the kind of pain that's hidden behind silence. Miss Farah once found Aisha in the library, alone, reading about famous people who were once bullied. She didn't ask questions. She just placed a gentle hand on Aisha's shoulder and walked away. One afternoon, something strange happened. During a class activity, students had to introduce themselves with their full names. One by one, students stood up. When it was Aisha's turn, she stood slowly and said in a soft voice, "My name is Aisha. Aisha Haroon." The classroom fell quiet, but only for a second. Then Danish laughed and said loudly, "Haroon? What kind of name is that? Sounds like a taxi driver's name." The class burst into laughter, but suddenly, Danish stopped. His smile disappeared. He looked at Aisha again, and then his face changed. He froze. He looked pale, almost scared. He sat down slowly, not saying a word. No one understood what had just happened. Aisha, as always, stayed silent. But this time, she looked up and stared straight into Danish's eyes. There was no anger, no fear, just a quiet strength. That night, Danish couldn't sleep. He kept hearing the name in his head. Aisha Haroon. It felt familiar, too familiar. He got out of bed and opened his father's old briefcase, the one hidden in the bottom drawer. Inside were some old papers and a photo. He picked it up. It was a picture of his father standing beside another man. The man's name, written on the back, was Haroon Ahmed. His hands started to shake. He looked at the photo again. That man had the same eyes as Aisha. He ran to his father's room. "Dad, who is Haroon Ahmed?" His father looked at him, and everything changed. After hearing Aisha's last name in class, Haroon, Danish could not sleep. That name, it felt like a shadow from the past. A name his father never spoke. A name that suddenly made his chest feel heavy. He had laughed at Aisha in class, like he always did. But when she said her full name, Aisha Haroon, something in him broke. The smile on his face vanished. The laughter around him faded, and his hands had turned cold. That evening, Danish searched through his father's old briefcase. He found a dusty photo album. Inside was a picture of two men standing side by side, both smiling. One of them was his father. The other had kind eyes and a strong face. On the back of the photo were just two words, Harun Ahmed. Danish's heart dropped. That man looked like Aisha. He went straight to his father, holding the photo tightly. "Dad, who is Harun Ahmed?" His father looked up. For a moment he didn't speak. Then slowly he sat down on the sofa. "That name. Where did you hear it?" he asked quietly. "She said it today. Aisha Harun. She's in my class. I think she's his daughter." His father's eyes widened. Then he looked down and held his head in his hands. After a long silence, his father spoke. "Years ago, Harun Ahmed saved my life. I was in big trouble with the company. I had no money, no support. Everyone turned away from me, but Harun didn't. He gave me everything. His trust, his investment, his friendship." Danish listened quietly. His father continued, "But when I rose again, I left him behind. I didn't return his money. I didn't return his calls. I walked away and ruined him." Danish could not believe what he was hearing. "Dad, he helped you? And you betrayed him?" His father nodded slowly. "Yes, and I've carried the guilt every day." At school the next morning, Danish walked into class. He didn't look at anyone. He didn't make jokes. And he didn't go near Aisha. He sat in silence. During break, his friends came over. "Hey, man, you okay? That new girl got into your head?" One laughed. Danish shook his head. "She's not just some girl," he whispered. "You have no idea who she is." But it was too late. Other boys had started teasing Aisha in his place. One boy pushed her notebook off the table. Another threw paper balls at her back. Still, Aisha didn't react. She stayed calm. She only opened her diary and began to write. Every time someone hurt her, she didn't fight back. She just wrote. And that made Danish feel even worse. He tried to speak to her once during art class. He walked up to her and said softly, "Aisha," but she didn't look up. She kept drawing in. Silence. The drawing? It was of a tree, broken on one side, but still standing. It made Danish's heart ache. He wanted to say sorry. He wanted to explain. But how do you say sorry for something your family destroyed? Later that day, Miss Farah called Aisha to stay. After class, she gently asked, "Are you okay, dear? Do you want to talk?" Aisha shook her head and smiled politely. "I'm fine, miss." But Miss Farah saw the truth in her eyes. A quiet storm was hiding there, a pain too old for her age. At the end of the day, as students were leaving, Aisha stood near the classroom door. Danish passed by slowly, not saying a word. Then, just as he walked past her, she spoke. Her voice was calm but strong. "You laugh because you don't know the truth, but when you do, you won't be able to laugh again." Danish stopped in his tracks. He turned to her, but she was already walking away, and in that moment he knew. This was no longer a game. This was something bigger, and the truth was only just beginning to come out. Danish sat alone in his room. Aisha's words from school kept echoing in his mind. "You laugh because you don't know the truth, but when you do, you won't be able to laugh again." He couldn't shake it off. His father's old photo, that name, Harun Ahmed. And now, the daughter of the same man in his class. The more he thought about it, the worse he felt. That night, Danish quietly entered his father's study again. He opened the same drawer. Inside was a file marked 1999 Harun case. He opened it. There were documents, business deals, partnership papers, and one last paper. A termination agreement, unsigned. It showed that Harun Ahmed had owned 49% of Danish's father's company. He was not just a helper, he was an equal partner. But his name was nowhere now. He had been erased. Danish's father walked into the room. He saw the file in his son's hands. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then his father sighed. "I thought you might find this someday." "Why, Dad?" Danish asked. "Why did you do this to him?" His father looked down. "I was greedy," he whispered. "I was scared of being poor again. I thought if I pushed him out, I could keep everything." Danish's eyes were full of anger and confusion. "And what happened to him after that?" His father replied, voice shaking. "He lost everything. His house, his savings, and his health." Danish felt sick. At school the next day, Danish watched Aisha from a distance. She was sitting on the same back bench. Silent, calm. She was reading again, same brown diary on her desk. Danish wondered, what is she writing in that diary? Every day, he walked up to her during lunch. "I know who your father was," he said softly. Aisha looked up slowly, her eyes serious. "Was?" she repeated. Danish nodded. "My dad told me everything. I didn't know, I swear." Aisha stared at him. For the first time, her voice was clear. Not knowing is not the problem. Hurting someone even after knowing the truth. That's the real problem. Later that day, Danish went to Miss Farah. "Miss, do you know who Aisha really is?" he asked. Miss Farah looked at him with tired eyes. "Yes, Danish, I know." "You do?" "She's the daughter of a man with a great heart. A man your father once called brother." Danish sat down, shocked. "He used to visit this school," Miss Farah continued. "He donated books for poor students, built benches in the old classroom. He even paid fees for children whose parents couldn't afford it." "Then why did he disappear?" Danish asked. Miss Farah paused. "Because one man's silence destroyed him." After school, Danish followed Aisha at a distance. She walked to the bus stop, like always. She stood alone. In her hands, she held the brown diary close to her chest. He wanted to go to her, to say sorry, to explain, but his feet didn't move. He didn't know what to say. How do you fix something broken years ago? How do you return a stolen past? That night, Danish couldn't sleep again. He sat by his window, thinking deeply. I bullied her, laughed at her, hurt her, not knowing that. Her family helped mine survive. Then he opened his phone and typed, "How tea?" The note, the yellow rose, the quiet apology without loud words. Aisha read it again and again. Danish had written with honesty, and though he had caused her pain, his message was different this time. It didn't ask for forgiveness. It promised change. Aisha closed her diary and looked out the classroom window. Her thoughts drifted back to her father. Harun Ahmed. She remembered how he used to sit on the floor beside her bed and tell her stories. Stories about kindness, strength, and always standing back up, even when life pushed you down. He never spoke badly about anyone, not even the man who betrayed him. But Aisha had seen it all, the day her father came home with shaking hands, the day they left their big house, the day the lights went off because they couldn't pay the bills. She had seen her strong father break. That pain stayed with her. Even after he passed away, his silence became her strength. She didn't want revenge. She didn't want pity. All she ever wanted was for people to know the truth. And now, Danish knew. At lunch, Danish sat alone. He didn't laugh. He didn't throw jokes. He just watched Aisha from across the room, unsure if he should speak again. His friends came to him confused. "Are you okay, bro? You're acting weird," Danish replied. "I'm just thinking, maybe we should all start acting a little weird, like kind." His friends laughed, thinking it was another joke. But Danish wasn't joking. That evening, Aisha opened a box at home. Inside were old papers, photos, and letters her father had written but never sent. She pulled out one with shaky handwriting. To the boy who will someday understand. It was a letter written to Danish. Aisha gasped. Her father had written it before he died. She read the letter slowly. I know life will teach him one day. I hope he grows to be better than his father. If he ever learns the truth, tell him this. I forgave his father long ago, but now he has a chance to fix what was broken, not with words, but with choices. Tears filled her eyes. Her father had never hated anyone, even the one who destroyed him. The next day, Aisha walked into class with that letter in her bag. When Danish saw her, he stood up. I meant what I wrote, he said softly. Aisha looked at him. I know. She handed him the letter without a word. He read it, and something in him broke. His hands trembled. He sat down slowly, holding the paper like it was made of glass. My father. He never told me this, he whispered. But your father, he forgave him before he died? Aisha nodded. But now it's your turn to decide, she said. Do you want to stay silent or speak the truth? That day, Danish stood in front of the class during English period. Miss Farah, he said, can I say something? She nodded. Danish turned to the class. I've been a bully. You all know that. But there's something you don't. No. He looked at Aisha. This girl, her father saved my father's life. And yet, I laughed at her, hurt her, treated her like she was nothing. He paused. My family took everything from hers, and still she said nothing. The class sat in silence. Some looked shocked. Others looked guilty for laughing along. After Danish's confession in class, everything changed. The room that once echoed with jokes and laughter now felt silent and heavy. No one laughed at Aisha anymore. No one whispered behind her back, but Aisha didn't smile either. She was waiting, not for sympathy, not for praise. She was waiting for real change. The next day, Danish did something no one expected. He walked into the school office. Ma'am, he said to the school principal, I want to organize a tribute assembly. A tribute for whom? She asked. For Harun Ahmed, Danish said. The principal raised her eyebrows. He was a good man, he continued. He helped this school once. It's time we remember him. The principal was silent for a moment. Then she said, That's a very mature request. You have my permission. That evening, Danish gathered the courage to tell his father. He showed him the letter Aisha had given him, Harun Ahmed's last words. His father read it quietly, his eyes full of regret. I don't deserve his forgiveness, he whispered. Danish replied gently. But you can still fix something. Not everything, but something. His father nodded. I will come to the tribute. The day of the assembly arrived. The school hall was full. Students, teachers, and parents all sat quietly. Danish walked to the stage with shaking hands. He held the microphone and began, Today, we are not just remembering a name. We are remembering a man who gave when others took. A man who stayed kind when the world turned cruel. He paused, then looked directly at Aisha. Harun Ahmed lost many things in life, but he never lost his goodness. And today, we honor that goodness. Then something surprising happened. Aisha was called to the stage. She froze for a second, then slowly walked up. The hall watched in silence. She stood beside Danish and took a deep breath. Then, with calm strength, she spoke. My father believed in forgiveness. Even when people broke his trust, he believed pain can make people bitter or better. I think today I see people trying to be better. Her voice didn't shake, and for the first time since she joined the school, the hall clapped. Not out of pity, but out of respect. After the assembly, many students came up to her. "I'm sorry," one girl whispered. "I didn't know," said another. "I used to laugh when others did," a boy said. "But now, I feel ashamed." Aisha smiled gently. "It's okay. What matters is what you do now." That evening, something even more unexpected happened. Danish's father arrived at Aisha's home. He stood at the door, nervous. When Aisha's mother opened it, he said quietly, I came to say sorry, not for words, but for years of silence." Tears came to her eyes. She stepped aside and let him in. Together, they sat with old memories and unfinished apologies. He offered to restart the foundation Harun once dreamed of. Helping poor children get free education, Aisha's mother nodded. "Maybe this is how healing begins," she said. The next day, a poster appeared on the school notice board. Harun Ahmed Scholarship. Starting this year, it was in his name, for children who had dreams, but no money. And the school hall was renamed. The Harun Memorial Auditorium. Students stood silently in front of it. No jokes, no whispers, just respect. Aisha stood alone near the board. Danish walked up to her. "I hope this helps," he said. She looked at him. "You didn't just tell the truth, Danish. You gave it a voice." The school had changed. Whispers were replaced by kind words. Laughter had become more careful, more respectful. And Aisha? She still sat on the same back bench, still quiet, still holding her brown diary. But something was different now. People looked at her with respect, not pity. One day, Miss Farah came to Aisha during the break. "There's something I want to give you," she said gently. She handed Aisha an old envelope. "I found this in the school archive," Miss Farah explained. "Your father gave it to me long ago. He told me to pass it to you when the time was right." Aisha took the envelope with trembling hands. It had her name on it, written in her father's handwriting. Tears filled her eyes before she even opened it. That night, in her small room, Aisha opened the letter. Her hands were shaking. The paper, inside, smelled of old ink and time, and the words, they felt like her father was sitting beside her again. "My Aisha, if you're reading this, it means you stayed strong. I know life has not been fair. I know people may have laughed at you, pushed you down. But always remember, you are more than their words. You are my pride. If the truth has come out, then let it live. Don't hold hate. Forgiveness is power. And if someone tries to fix what they broke, let them. Even a broken heart can be healed if we let love in again. With all my heart, your Baba." Aisha held the letter close to her chest. She didn't cry loudly, just silent tears, like drops of peace. The next day at school, Danish noticed something new. Aisha was smiling. Not a full, wide smile, but the kind that says, "I'm okay now." She walked up to Danish and said, "Thank you." He looked confused. "But I should be thanking you." She shook her head. "No. You listened, you spoke, and you changed." Later, Danish went to Miss Farah. "I want to add one more thing to the tribute wall," he said. Miss Farah smiled. "You have something in mind?" He nodded. "I want to frame that letter, the one Aisha showed me." Miss Farah agreed. A few. Days later, the letter was framed and placed beside Harun Ahmed's photo in the school hall. At the top, it read, "Forgiveness is power." Harun Ahmed parents visiting the school would often stop and read the letter. Some cried, some smiled, all of them left with a softer heart. Back at home, Danish's father continued working on the scholarship fund. He also began helping other families in need. "I can't undo the past," he told Danish, "but I can make sure no one else gets hurt." Aisha and her mother were invited to speak at a city education event. She shared her father's story, his kindness, and how truth can heal, even after years of silence. People clapped for her bravery, but Aisha only said one thing. The real hero was never me. It was the man who stayed kind, even when the world turned its back on him. Aisha stood outside the school gate. It was her last day, after all the pain, the silence, and the truth. She had finally found peace, and now it was time to move on. Inside the school, something new had started. The large notice board near the Bullied office now had a new title, the Harun Ahmed Kindness Corner. Below it were stories written by students, real stories, of moments when they chose kindness over cruelty. Some students wrote about helping others. Some wrote about forgiving old enemies. And at the very top of the board, a single sentence was printed in bold. Never judge someone by their silence. They may carry the strength of 1,000 voices. Aisha read that sentence as she walked through the hallway one last time. Danish was waiting near the stairs. He smiled, a bit nervous. "You're leaving today, right?" he asked. Aisha nodded. "Yes. We're moving to another city. A fresh start." There was a short silence between them. Danish spoke again. "You know, I still remember the first time I saw you quiet, head down. I thought you were just another shy girl." Aisha looked at him with calm eyes. "And now?" Danish smiled. "Now I know. You were the strongest person in the room." Before she left, Aisha gave him something. It was a small folded paper with her father's handwriting on it. Just one sentence. "Even broken hearts can be a light for others." Danish held it carefully. He didn't say much. He didn't have to. Weeks passed, months moved like soft clouds in the sky. But the story didn't end, because one day the school hosted a national debate competition. Schools from all over the country came to attend. The topic? The power of truth and forgiveness. Danish stood on stage. He held the mic, and with a deep breath, he began. "This is not just a topic for me. This is my life. I once laughed at someone because she was quiet. I bullied her, but then I heard her last name." The audience leaned in. Her name was Aisha Ahmed, daughter of Harun Ahmed, the man my father once betrayed. But instead of revenge, she chose silence. Instead of hate, she gave space for truth. And instead of anger, she let the world see what real strength looks like. After the competition, many came to shake his hand, but Danish didn't feel proud. He just felt grateful. Grateful that one girl, one name, one story had changed him forever. Somewhere in a new city, Aisha sat by the window. She looked at the stars and smiled, not because everything was perfect now, but because her father's dream had come true. His story had reached hearts. His name had brought change. And his daughter. She was no longer just the quiet girl. She was the girl who carried truth, love, and strength, all in silence.